Hey guys, hey, we're having fun in our RV. Thanks for coming along. You know, when we were trying to get our first 1,000 subscribers, one of the things we talked about doing once we got 1,000 was having a fishing playlist. Now, this is not a fishing channel, okay? It's a travel channel more than anything, going to historical places and all kinds of things. But I would say that at least half of the places we go, there's going to be fishing. Some kind of fishing, something, lake, river, ocean, whatever, there will be, and so we will be doing some fishing. I'm gonna set a playlist up that's for nothing but our fishing exploits, like that. Maybe things we did or learned or tried and failed at, or
it's not.
He's croaking.
Wait.
How high do I have to hold this up in order to show it?
A little more.
Really? Or succeeded at, okay? This is our first experimental fishing video. Now, it's experimental. It didn't go the way we thought it was going to go, and you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. The main thing about this video was we were going to try a new type of fish bait. Actually, it's a type of fish bait that's tens of thousands of years old. But it's kind of new to me, and you'll see what I mean. Now, I like fishing in the Gulf of Mexico. I've spent my whole life fishing in the Gulf of Mexico. I've had relatives down there that I would go and visit in the summer. I love fishing in the Gulf of Mexico. South Padre Island was always a favorite place of mine, but I fished in lots of other places as well. I always like to fish with shrimp or squid, all right? Whether I went out on a boat or I was on a pier or a jetty or whatever, those were my most common baits that I would use. And if you do that, or you've done that, you've probably done like I do, and that is you go to a bait shop and you buy, or even just a 7-Eleven down there, and you buy a box of squid and maybe a box of shrimp, or maybe just one or the other, depending on what you're gonna be doing. And then I would take those 2 boxes or bags of frozen shrimp or squid, and I would put them in, say, an ice chest that I took on the trip just for that purpose. I would put the shrimp and squid in here, and that's what we would use for bait that day. And then whatever we didn't use that day, we'd close it up, maybe put one of those blue ice things in there, maybe not, but we wouldn't take this into the room or the camper with us. We'd set that outside. And hopefully the next morning when we got up, we would have some shrimp or squid we could use. We could go right to fishing right off the bat. And I'm here to tell you, when you open this up, and if it wasn't cold enough in there, it was right, okay? But you could still use it for maybe one more day, then you had to throw it all away. Either that, or we would go fishing and we'd use up most of our bait and we'd just give away what was left. Sometimes we would do that. But more often than not, I'd take a little ice chest for bait. And that kind of worked. And if you fish with shrimp, there was another thing that happened when fishing in the Gulf of Mexico, is pretty much all the fish in there have sharp needle-like teeth. They'll put your fingers in their mouths. And they would go up to maybe your treble hook or whatever, which is what I use most often, and it was boom, and they'd take that shrimp right off your hook, just like that. You would put it in the water, you'd feel, if you put 3 pieces of shrimp on there, you'd feel boom, boom, boom. You might as well reel it in because your shrimp is gone. So I've thought about other ways to try to keep the shrimp on there, the bait on there a little bit longer. And one of the ways, of course, is to use squid, which is a little bit tougher and stays on a little bit better. But frankly, I don't think it catches fish quite as well as shrimp. But we would do that. I thought about boiling the shrimp ahead of time, and that makes it a little bit tougher, because that raw frozen shrimp, man, it just slides right off. You know that. Then along came the internet, and I saw people doing things I'd never thought of before, and I don't know why. What they're doing is they are salting their bait. They salt it all down and let that salt take some of the moisture out of it, preserve it, cure it, if you will, and use that for bait. And that serves a lot of cool purposes in that it keeps for a long time. you can have that bait virtually in your tackle box, and whenever you're going fishing, just take off and it's there. It can last for weeks or months in there without much of a problem. As I mentioned in a video you're going to see in a minute, people have been salting their meat, especially fish, for tens of thousands of years. In the Arctic, the Inuits, those people, they salt, whale meat and salmon and you name it, okay, to preserve it. And it works just great. Now I've seen people do this on the internet, and I'm thinking, well, that seems to make sense to me. So about a month and a half ago or so, I made up some shrimp. I just bought it at my local grocery store, peeled it, kind of cut it in half, put it in a little Tupperware thing, I salted the bottom, then I put the shrimp in and salted the top and covered it. And I came back days later, and you know what? It was fine. Came back 2 or 3 weeks later, and it was fine. Took it down to the coast, made some more while I was down there, and I'm going to show you the video of us making the salted squid and the salted shrimp. But the cool thing about this is you salt it, and it takes a lot of the moisture out of it and the softness out of it. It makes it almost like leathery. So a piece of shrimp will stay on your hook even better. Now we also experimented on this trip with using exclusively circle hooks. I've never been a fan of circle hooks, and I'll tell you, spoiler alert right here, right now, I'm still not, okay? But I've always used treble hook. But we're gonna try, next time, we're gonna try a little bit smaller circle hooks and see what happens. But let me show you what I'm talking about when I say salted shrimp. Here's some left over from our trip a couple of weeks ago, and you'll see that it is, doesn't smell bad. It smells pretty much just like fresh shrimp. I mean, the temptation is for me to bite it and see what it tastes like, and it'll probably be fine, but I can't bring myself to do it. But I bet there's some people up north that would do it and no problem, because I mean, it really seems fine. And it really, really does. It just seems cured, and it's a little chewy, if I use that word. And I'll show you a close-up like right now. Okay, there's a close-up of it right there right now, and you'll see that it is it's not slimy. It's not smelly. It doesn't feel or smell rotten in any way, and honestly, it worked kind of well. We made some shrimp that we took with us ahead of time. Then I bought some frozen shrimp the first day we were there. We fished with the shrimp that I took with me that was like 2 or 3 weeks old, and then we salted up a bunch more for the next day. Yeah, now that's a shrimp. Now the squid is a little bit different. I said the shrimp smells kind of like fresh shrimp. It doesn't smell bad at all, okay? But squid smells squiddy. Even fresh squid has a different smell altogether. And I've got some salted squid right here, and it doesn't smell that bad. It smells just like you just bought some squid bait. But that's not a great smell. And I'll be honest with you right here, my wife's probably not too keen on me opening this in the house right now.
Oh no, yuck!
Yeah.
Yuck.
But I am. As you can see, here's some tentacles, squiddy kind of stuff there like that.
Yum.
And what you do with the squid is you take a pair of scissors and you cut strips of it and you put that on the hook, and it stays on the hook. I'll be honest. I'll tell you, this is I take the squid and I split it, and so it lays flat. And this is quite leathery. Okay, I mean, it's not too leathery that a hook won't go through it, but you cut some of this, put it on your hook, and it stays on your hook. I mean, it really does. You can catch a couple of fish before you have to replace it or add any more. So I'm going to show now the video of us making a whole bunch of bait for the next day, and it's simple, it's easy, and I highly recommend it. And we'll come back and we'll tell you how we did, okay? Okay, I'm not an expert at this, but this is a fishing experimental expedition. We're gonna be experimenting with a new kind of bait, I guess you could say. I've fished my whole life with just regular, go buy some frozen shrimp and some frozen squid. Turns out that you can take that squid or shrimp and cure it in salt, and it will make a shrimp here that is about as almost as dense as a Jolly Rancher. You know, I mean, shrimp just comes right off your hook. This stuff is rubbery, and even though I made this about 2 days ago, it smells just like fresh shrimp. There's no stale. There's no rotten smell to it whatsoever. So I made this. I'm getting it set up for tomorrow. But if that wasn't weird enough, I made this shrimp, salted shrimp, 3 weeks ago. And look at this. It looks and feels and smells just like it. There's no rotten smell. It feels like candy. It really does. I feel like I could eat it, but I'm not going to. And this was made 3 weeks ago, and it's been in my tackle box because I thought I was going fishing then, and I didn't get to. And one of the neat things about this stuff is that you can make it and you can keep it for, I guess, months. And now today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this stuff that I made a couple days ago. I'm going to put it in a little dish here, a little Tupperware dish kind of thing. Well, actually, it's not Tupperware; it's a knockoff. We got it at the dollar store or something. And then I'm going to make some salted squid tonight for use tomorrow. Now, squid has a tendency to stay on the line better than shrimp, and we've had a fair amount of luck, especially fishing here at Goose Island State Park in Texas with shrimp and squid, but mostly squid. And when we use squid, we spray it with garlic. And I'm here to tell you, you put the squid on there, squid will hold on to a hook better than shrimp, but when you put that garlic squid in there, I mean, you better be ready, because you're going to have a bite, I mean, almost the minute it hits the water. Now, here's what we're going to do. Oh, we're also going to fish with some of this Jack Link's beef tender bites. I don't know how well that's going to work. There's a guy on the internet whose site is called Hey Skipper. He fishes with in the Gulf of Mexico, mostly around Florida or the Gulf states, and he fishes with whatever people tell him to fish with and try it. I've watched him fish with bubble gum. He fishes for catfish in one of those rivers in Florida with McDonald's, chicken McNuggets, and he's catching these 20, 30-pound catfish with chicken McNuggets. Of course, his dad is eating them almost faster than he can fish with them. I recommend his page. It's pretty good. And he makes his own, what he calls Squid Jerky. And we're going to make some right here, right now. But I'm here to tell you, I got a package of frozen squid. And squid is much easier to work with scissors than it is with, say, a knife, a fillet knife. You can just cut it off into little, calamari rings and stuff like that. But here's the way this works. Here's how you make this salted bait. You start off with something like squid or shrimp, and you get something like, well, not like, but you get table salt. This is plain table salt. It is not iodized. Theoretically, if you get the iodized stuff, fish can taste things like that. I'm so serious about the way fish taste. When you buy frozen squid or frozen shrimp, the tendency is to just go to the closest fish cleaning station and fill up your bucket with that frozen shrimp and some water. Well, the water at the coast is very often very chlorinated. There's chlorine in that water. The fish can taste it. If you go to these websites where they put a camera in the water, you see fish come up to the bait and will mouth it, I don't know how many times, and then they'll spit it out and spit it out until they finally either accidentally get hooked or they commit. They're looking to see if there's anything there that doesn't taste like food, either a hook or something chemical, some sunscreen on your hand that's on there, or something like that. The theory is the garlic spray masks human scent, okay? But here's what you do. You take table salt, that's regular table salt. It's got no iodine or anything like that in it. And you cover the bottom of a dish. Completely cover it, okay? And then you want it so that there's not a bit of bait, come on, that doesn't get covered in salt. So you put a big batch of it down there and covering up the bottom. You want to cover up every inch of the bottom because you don't want bait just laying on that plastic, probably in some moisture and getting rotten. So you make a nice bed of salt. Then you take whatever it is you're going to do, be it shrimp or squid, and with squid, what you want to do, remember squid is built in kind of like a tube, and you open up that tube and lay it flat, okay? And you can do it with rings and stuff too if you want to, but I am just going to open it up like so. And now on Hey Skipper, he makes his Squid Jerky, as he calls it, and sells it, and it's a good product, and he catches fish with it like crazy. But what he might do to make it different from what I'm doing, I don't know. It looks pretty good, but I'm laying this squid down here flat, and then I'm going to cover the whole thing, and I'm going to take these tentacles like this, and I'm just going to put them in there. It's like I would a piece of shrimp. And then I'm going to cover all of this with salt, and if I have enough squid, after that, I'll start another layer. Okay, but I'm going to have all these little flat pieces of squid in there that I just bought at a little bait store just a few minutes ago, and I thawed them out with seawater, not with water out of the tap or water out of the RV. I thawed them out with that, and we're going to see what happens, okay? I'm going to cover this up. Now tomorrow morning, I'm going to let this sit overnight. And they say overnight, but I've never done it for less than 2 days. And so we're going to see how overnight works. And we're going to try fishing with this in the morning, all right? So that's where we are. I'm going to make some salt and squid here, and I'll see you in the morning. Okay, as you can see, making up a batch of this bait, it's not that hard, and I gotta tell you, it keeps. And so it's not like that next day opening up the ice chest and a vile smell comes out of there. This is pretty, I don't want to say nice, but it's not unpleasant at all, okay? Now, the question is, how did we do? Well, fish love this stuff. Salt does a couple of things. Besides just toughening up and preserving the meat, salt, we use salt in our diet or on our food because salt kind of enhances the flavor, makes the flavor of foods kind of pop. And fish really are into the smell of certain things. And if you watch some videos, you can see that a lot of fish, especially saltwater fish, you'll put a hook in the water and fish will come and mouth it a whole bunch before they'll either accidentally get hooked or they will commit to taking the bait. All right, they're checking it out. Well, the fish will, as soon as you put your shrimp or your squid on your hook and you throw it in the salt water there in the bay, be ready. You're going to start getting pretty fierce hits, and they're biting at the meat and they're pulling at it. And if you got a circle hook, you can kind of relax because theoretically the circle hook kind of likes to firmly catch or set the hook itself. I'm not sold on that, but that's the theory. And but you start getting hits right off the bat, and you can be fairly sure that you're going to be able to get lots of hits. They're not going to be able to strip your meat off. The fish love this stuff, be it the squid or the shrimp. They go crazy for it, all right? A lot of little fish that day, but, well, how would you rate success?
You're on.
All right, that's our first fish caught today. It was caught on just little flat pieces of salted squid. This is a nice game fish, a nice keepable size of a black drum.
delicious fish. And there you go. There he is. We probably won't keep him. Caught on the circle hook with salted squid. How about that, huh? All right, we're going to get him off.
How would you rate success? Well, we caught some hardhead catfish. Okay, we caught some undersized black drum and red drum, and then we caught some perfect size black drum. Okay, so for a morning of fishing, that's not too bad. Those black drum were legal size and perfect size for cooking and eating. Don't you agree? So we had a pretty good day. So the moral of the story, or the thing I want to tell you is, salting this bait works. Salting this bait, the fish love it. Circle hooks, not too keen on. And this was just our very first fishing expedition video experiment. Thanks for coming along. There will be more. Hey, please subscribe.